Hi, it's Panda Movies here. Today I'm going to explain the horror movie called Patient Zero. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. Over 7 billion people have died or contracted rabies as a result of an outbreak of a mutant form of the disease that affects both humans and animals. In 90 seconds after being bitten, a person is rabid. When they were attacked, Morgan and his wife Janet were in a car. Both were infected, but he was still human and could speak to the afflicted. Morgan and virologist Dr. Gina Rose bring in the sick and question them in an effort to identify Patient Zero and develop a treatment, while a sizable group of civilians, CDC scientists, and US military are now in an underground nuclear base. Gina struggles with the tensions between herself, Morgan, and Colonel Knox, which are exacerbated by the fact that Knox is drawn to Gina even though she is currently in a relationship with Morgan. Janet, who is one of many prisoners confined at the underground base, is visited by Morgan. She is receiving an experimental treatment made using blood from Morgan. The image of Gina displays a positive pregnancy test. When one opens his eyes, he attacks the soldiers and workers while the bodies of dead soldiers are being incinerated. He is restrained after a confrontation with Knox and requests to talk with Morgan in particular. Morgan is amazed that the patient is unfazed by the music that has enraged the other infected. He even pulls a cigarette out of his pocket, lights it, and begins to smoke. He is thought to be closely related to Patient Zero by the team. The guy explains that he was a college professor and that during one of his lectures, the infected invaded his institution. Despite being bitten, he still possesses the majority of human skills. The infected are evolved humans, a more developed species at the top of the food chain, the professor informs Morgan. Their argument makes Morgan suspicious, and soon after that, Morgan discovers that Pete Townsend, another of their former patients, has a transmitter stitched inside his chest, indicating that the infected set up a trap to figure out where the base is. All of the humanity, including bystanders, are killed or infected as the infected swarm inside. In order to slow the infected down long enough for him and Gina to reach the elevator, overrun Knox shoots his captain. Gina seizes his revolver in disgust at his behavior. He tries to convince her that he was trying to save her life. As they start to struggle, Knox is killed by the gunshot. Gina sees Morgan releasing Janet as she visits the cells housing the sick. Gina begs him to leave Janet because the medications only momentarily relieve her symptoms, but he refuses. They enter Gina's lab covertly, take her samples, and then squeeze through the vents. They make it to the parking lot just below ground level. They are confronted by the professor, who confesses his motive for visiting the base: to assassinate Morgan. They are in danger of dying because Morgan is their Patient Zero. Before Morgan impales the professor on a pipe during their altercation, the professor starts calling other afflicted. The group takes off until Janet orders them to stop and buys them some time by telling Morgan that he must leave her to save the baby because she felt Gina was expecting. This diverts Morgan long enough for Janet to swiftly shut a massive vault door, stopping the horde. Through a window in the door, Janet wipes a tear from her face, indicating that she was now able to cry and that the treatment was working and restoring her humanity, and mouths, "I love you." Following the passage into the woods, Morgan and Gina discover a motorcycle. With Morgan aware that he must do whatever it takes to care for his child and save some semblance of the human species, they ride off into the night.